Hey everyone, it is Lou here from Click Love Grow, and I am jumping on live tonight with the wonderful Estella. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So Estella, you are one of our Click Love Grow grads, and today we're going to be talking all things photography, how you came to Click Love Grow, what you love about photography, especially as a mum. And we're also going to have a look at some of your beautiful photos. But let's get started. I would love to ask you a little bit more about yourself. Can you let us know where you are from in the world and how you came to Click Love Grow?
So I'm from Hampshire, UK, and I was in the throes of early motherhood, and I was scrolling through my phone like you do in the middle of the night, feeding babies, and all of a sudden this sponsored post popped up and said, join my mini course and a freebie. So I was like, oh, I'll join the group and have a look and see what it's about. And I'd already been like trying to learn my camera for a long time. So obviously the algorithm was listening to me complain to my husband. And so I joined the group and I joined the little course, and it followed on the Enthusiast course straight afterwards. And I thought, you know what, let's ask the husband for some money. Because at the time I was on maternity leave, so my pay was all the way down. So I said to him, can I try this? I need the pictures of our baby. So he let me do it in a way, but he was like, well, I can see that you're really enjoying it and you're really focused on doing it. So he's like, go for it. So I was like, thank you very much. I'll take the money.
I love that. And look, I think that's an experience that many of us have had, right? We're on maternity leave. You know, we have this time available to us when we've just had a baby, or maybe, you know, we've got kids that are in those kind of early kid phases, and we do want to capture the images. For me, you know, it was definitely the birth of my daughter where I got the big camera. I didn't know how to use it, and I was getting really frustrated because I wanted those beautiful memories. You have talked in your featured story, which is published on our blog at Click Love Grow, about how important it was to you to be able to capture memories of your family. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how it motivated your desire to learn photography more?
Well, I'm the baby of my family, and so a lot of my relatives are much older than me. There's 20 years between me and my eldest sister, and I lost a lot of family at a very young age. And so to be able to connect with them, I really was flipping through family albums all the time as a child, and learning stories about the people that were in the pictures. And so I knew that when my baby came along, that I would want to be in those pictures with her, because I noticed when I was a child that my mother was the person that took the pictures. And so there are some of her, but they're always the ones where she's looking away or it's caught in an awkward moment for her. And I wanted ones that were a bit more connection and made sure that you could see the whole person properly, rather than just a quick take my picture and it not be ready and you be like, ugh, with your baby who's screaming for their father.
That's so true. And I love that you were able to recognize that in your own family photos and notice that, because oftentimes we don't notice it until we're missing from our family photos with our own kids. Someone in our advanced course actually this week, Estella, said that they were motivated by your blog post and got in the photo and took some self-portraits with themselves and their baby because they read your featured post and thought, that's so true, I need to turn up in the photos.
Oh, lovely. It is hard doing those self-portraits, especially when they're very small. The amount of outtakes and blurry ones in between, but I was making sure I got the picture that I wanted.
I love that. And it's just a matter of practice, right? And sometimes I think with photography, one of the things that I think is great is that we can get our kids involved with it as well, whether we're setting up and we're taking photos of our kids. I remember, I was learning, I would set up the cutest things with my toddlers and they would have fun and I'd get to show them the photos. But self-portraits is a little bit like that as well. You have kind of the luxury of time to be able to play and experiment and get them involved, which I think can be a really fun, because not only do you have the photos, but then you have the memories of those fun moments that you spent together.
Yes, running backwards and forwards, and when when she learned to be able to press the shutter herself, I was like,
Oh,
gently, gently,
that's really
and then
sweet.
back to me.
I love that. I've done that with my kids, and I always make a big deal of being like crazy, you know, kind of pressing the button and then very dramatically running back to get back in time, which I think is great because it adds that, especially when you've got multiple family members, that can kind of be silly and fun. But that's such a great idea to teach her to press the button and run back herself. That's
and
really
in the end, I managed to get a remote, and then she would press the button on the remote as well.
That's really sweet.
So there were lots of pictures of her going the remote and looking down at it, going mine.
Oh, I love that. It's really sweet. Well, we're going to have a look at some of your photos in just a moment. The other thing I would love to ask you, and you mentioned this, is that you were trying to learn photography already when you stumbled across Click Love Grow. So I'd love to know about your experience of trying to learn yourself. And there's heaps of resources out there, you know, YouTubes and different tutorials and videos that you can watch. What was the difference for you coming to Click Love Grow and taking part of the Enthusiast course versus the experience of, you know, accessing other resources and trying to learn?
I find it's better for me to have feedback and to know where I'm going wrong and to ask lots of questions. And I find that it is always better to put as much in as you can get out at the same time. And sitting there watching YouTube videos pretty much all the time that my baby was napping wasn't working for me. I was still learning bits and bobs. I was learning little bits about light and where to stand, but they were a bit more advanced. They were all too advanced for me. I needed someone to say, we're going to learn this specific bit today, and then we're going to learn this specific bit next week, and being a lot more methodical, and then me going, oh, I'm not quite understanding this, and there being a group discussion about it. I really enjoyed the group discussion part where everyone could bounce a little bit of ideas off each other. If you're unsure about something, you could post a picture and say, what could I have done differently here? And you get that almost instant feedback, and then you can go and try again. And it was really helpful, especially where I was on maternity, so I was at home pretty much on my own as well. It wasn't as if I could go to somewhere, going into a camera club or something like that. Again, I felt intimidated by that because it was too advanced. There was too many people that were there that were too advanced at the same time. It was nice to learn with the same playing field, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. And again, I think that's so true from my experiences as well, learning. And I'm so glad that you had that experience and you were able to take part in the course. And of course, you had a fantastic transformation in your photos. So we are going to have a look at some of your photos now. I'm just going to bring them up on the screen. I totally love this photo. Tell us about this one and why you love it.
My daughter loved the twirly woos, and this is her actually watching the twirly woos. There's a bit at the beginning, the twirly woos, where they each pop up and go woo, and she would always laugh like this every time they popped up. And I just happened to be playing that day. I put a white sheet or a blanket behind her, and I was just sort of waiting for the right moment. So I was able to know my settings and be in the right light and everything. And I just waited for her to have this laugh, and I just clicked every time I thought it was great. There's a whole series of these as well. This one was the best one.
I love this. And so you actually took this one during the Enthusiast photography course.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have a look at your before. Now, I always say with before photos, we're always going to love the photos that we take, right? Especially if they're of our kids and they're of our family. So it's not about not loving the memories that we've created, but how does it feel to look at the difference, you know, between these two photos, knowing that you've gained the skills to be able to capture really beautiful photography?
You're right. I love that first picture because that was kind of the first picture I ever took with my big camera. Mm-hmm. But I wish I had that second photo during the skills for the second photo during the time from the first one, really. I really would have loved that right at the beginning. Obviously not everyone can do it right at the beginning. Yeah, so it would have been lovely, but I still love the
Of
little tiny
course,
baby.
of course. And sweet little
That
moments.
was
Look, oh, sorry.
sorry. That was taken with the curtains closed, by the way.
I know, it's the things we do, right, that we think are the right things to do. But look, I have 3 kids, so 2 of them have baby photos that look just like this, but one of them got to have the baby photos that all look like this. So I totally get you on the wishing you had it earlier. So, you know, moving on from baby photos to being able to document your daughter's childhood, I really love this photo, and it kind of, you know, encapsulates what it is as mums and as photographers that we really want to be able to, you know, create. Can you tell us about this photo and why you love it?
So we were walking back from a toddler group, and before we went out, I saw that it was really misty, and I thought, oh, if it's really misty still after the toddler group, we'll go to the park. And so I purposefully dressed her in this outfit, and I wanted to actually take the red jacket off her, but it was a bit chilly and she wasn't wanting it off. So I was like, okay. And when I got home, I realized after I started editing this set of pictures, I was like, the red jacket makes it. So all the color balancing together, and it was her just running backwards and forwards to me. All I said to her was just run over there and run back to me, and she was having a lovely time about it. She doesn't look so smiley in that one. There are other ones, but she's a bit more smiley, but that was the best of the bunch, really.
Oh, I just love it. And I mean, she definitely looks like she's smiling to me, but the colors, you're right, the colors in this absolutely make the photo, the richness of tones, and then knowing how to use all of these elements and bring them together with the leading lines of the road, and you've got the beautiful texture in the tree, and then the mist itself creates such a beautiful backdrop.
Yeah, it was my first for me shooting in mist as well. It was kind of a bit, I don't know which way to stand. Every way was a similar kind of lighting.
Oh, it's a really beautiful shot. I love it. So moving on to a totally different season altogether. This is a really different feel, but again, it's such a beautiful photo with really lovely storytelling elements. Can you tell us about this photo?
This is at our local farm that we go to all the time. This is a tiny little daffodil patch. I hadn't seen many daffodils that were by a roadside, because over here we have daffodils all by the roadsides during spring. And this was a tiny little patch in the farm area. And this was about a week before lockdown. And we happened to be walking past it, and I went, oh, go and have a look at the flowers. And I happened to notice the light behind. I was like, aha, this is the perfect opportunity for doing some backlighting. And she was happy just sitting there, or stood there poking her fingers inside all the daffodils. It was me constantly saying, don't break them, other people want to enjoy them.
That's so cute. Such a mum thing to say.
Yeah.
Our little one. Oh, it's so gorgeous. But again, you know, your outfit really ties it together beautifully. You've got the color tones working really well here. And that backlight totally makes the image. So I would love to ask, is lighting one of the things that you really enjoyed learning about to enhance your photography?
Yes. I found that using light really does make or break a photo. I'm not very keen on very flat looking pictures. They all have to be have kind of some dynamic light in them, whether it's a big sun flare or whether it's a backlighting. I do prefer backlighting out of everything. Backlighting is kind of my favorite thing to do, unless it's overcast, and then it's the other way around.
Absolutely. Oh, I love this. And here's one. So again, going back to using beautiful light, this is a gorgeous portrait. Tell us about this one.
This is my friend's little boy. We were at a sunflower farm, and she'd asked me to do some pictures of her family. And it was a really windy, blustery, overcast, on and off dark day. And he was about 13, 14 months old. So a bit tricky, because he was in the running stage. He didn't want to stay there. we kind of had to trick him for this picture in a way. We had to make it, we ran him with his dad one end of the path, and he ran back to me, and he just happened to look at me at the right moment.
Oh.
And it has proper backlighting there. The sun was just starting to come out behind him, and we got some really nice golden hour right at the end. The wind died down and everything. It was a really
Gorgeous.
odd day. But yeah, he was a cutie, but he made me work for it.
Totally a cutie. So I'd love to ask, because I know people are always curious, what is your favorite lens to shoot with, and what camera do you have as well?
I have a really old Canon 100D, which I think is known
Nice.
also as a Rebel SL1.
Yep.
And I use a nifty 50 pretty much all the
Gorgeous.
time.
Yeah,
I
that's
do
awesome.
I do have a 24mm, which is something I bought this year, which I've been playing with, which helps create a bit more space. I can use it
Yep.
a bit more indoors as well. But I do actually quite like the 50, and I don't know whether I would ever come away from that. I like to be able to get up a little bit closer.
Mhm.
Being quite far away from people, and especially little kids, they lose interest completely straight away. So yeah, I use
Yeah,
a
I
really
love it.
old and simple setup.
Oh, but I mean, a simple setup totally works when you know the lighting that you're working with and you can nail the shot like this. So it works beautifully. Okay, so here is a gorgeous photo. Tell us about this one.
So there is a series of this one as well. This was
Mhm.
taken with a remote. So I would set it up, and I found the right spot to sit in. There is a mixture of very unfocused ones in that group. But I just happened to say to her, look at the butterfly,
Oh.
meaning my camera, and she just happened to look at the right moment. There's lots of her laughing and being silly and everything there, but yeah, I really love that one because she's so little there, and although she didn't quite feel so little at the time, now when I look back I go, oh, she is really tiny. I managed to get that I really wanted. So yeah, she I do like that one, yeah, a lot.
It's so beautiful to have that photo of you in the frame with her as well.
Yes, definitely. I wanted to make sure that I was in some more baby pictures other than the selfie type snapshot ones with your hand sort of like and just be like looking. I wanted to have something that was a bit more of a connection rather than just your standard smile at the camera type pictures.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so does your daughter now enjoy looking back through photos?
She loves looking at herself. Absolutely loves it. She will sit there and flip through and ask to look on my phone. She goes, I have pictures of Paige. She says, I want to look at me.
Oh.
And then she'll sit there and she'll name all the other people that are in the picture or what we're doing. And yes, it is lovely for her. She's a little bit behind on her speech communication, but when we look at pictures, she's able to remember what we did and be able to have a bit more conversation with us about it, which is really nice as well.
Yeah, well, that's a beautiful tool then, in addition to, you know, all the memory making things. And I think I've heard or read somewhere as well that photography and kids being able to look through photography is so important as part of their own identity. So I think it is really important, and it's great that our kids can look through and enjoy. My kids are the same, although of course, again, the first couple of kids have the physical albums where all the 4x6s were printed out and slotted in. Of course, I don't have that for the last few years, but I'm really trying hard to do photo books. And I love how the phone creates the, you know, daily pop-ups of photos. So I'll quite often call my kids over. I send it to my teens via text, but the little one, he loves to come and sit and flick through photos with me, which I think is really sweet. So one of the things that you also have done with your photography is start your own photography business. So can you tell us a little bit about that and how Click Love Grow has helped you achieve that too?
So coming into 2019, back into 2019, I decided that I would like to try and take pictures for other people. I always had it in a little bit in the back of my mind that it's something that I would like to do. And after doing the course, it gave me a bit more confidence to be able to ask other people if I could take their pictures. The first few that I did more posing wise were a bit iffy. I knew how to use the camera, but then I was a little bit having to practice about where to put people properly. And so after that, I carried on doing model calls because the only way you can get better is to keep practicing. And it sort of evolved into this thing where I half pose people now. I say I wind them up and let them go. So I say, right, in the moment, we're going to stand here for a moment, and then we're going to run at me, and then everyone runs at me. And so I wanted to make sure I had those natural pictures between people and the connections, rather than the bog standard sit and look at me. So yeah, having the laughter captured is kind of something that I do with every session that I do. I really love to have those everyone laughing moments, and it just, I feel like when people are laughing, they show their real selves rather than just the smile. Of course, I do those as well because grandma likes them. All the grandmas like, I want a picture of all of my children looking together nicely. So I'd make sure to do at least one of those.
Yes, it is so true. And I think it's not just the photos, but you're also creating those memories for people so that then when they look at the photos, they can remember what you created for them in that moment, which I think is really beautiful.
Yes, definitely. They can remember the time that they were with their children at that time and the place that they were being. I usually try and pick places that people go and have just normal walks together, rather than like places that they wouldn't normally go to. So I generally are more out in the countryside somewhere, or a local park area, just because that's natural, normal for families to go walking in the park or in the woods or something like that. So it creates a lovely background at the same time.
Well, it looks like you have some beautiful places near where you live, which is gorgeous, that you can take people to. So thank you very much, Estella, for sharing your images with us today. It's been so fantastic to chat. If anyone is thinking about the Enthusiast course, I'd love to ask you, what words of inspiration do you have for someone that is looking to learn a little bit more about photography?
It's keep practicing and try and find some photographers that you really admire, and then not copy them, but follow them a little bit to gain their little nuggets about things that they like to do. There's a few photographers that I follow that do the more slightly vibrant or moody or emotional pictures, and I gain little bits of info and I put it into my work. But anybody wanting to learn, really, you want to be more methodical. You want to have it really set out in a methodical way so that you retain the information more, not a quick flash one-day course. You want something that really takes the time, with people that really take the time to give you the right advice.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. We always love seeing your images, and we love having you a part of the Click, Love, Grow community. And if anyone's watching and you have any questions for Estella, write them under the video in the comments, and we'd absolutely love to get back to you. And if you're interested in learning more, head to clicklovegrow.com/courses, and you'll find all the information on our Enthusiast photography course there.